up on that a long time ago.
Totally. I get you, man. I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean, I need to like know this stuff because of this, but as you can see, I really don't know what I'm doing either. This is like
It's one of our worst. It's one of our best inventions and the worst. Well, at least like
yes.
social media and the internet. Like if they got rid of the internet, probably the world would be a much better place.
Oh, absolutely.
My opinion.
100%. 100%.
I got a lot of them.
That's great. We're going to talk about that. So you probably noticed I already hit record. The reason I do that is because
and stuff already.
No, yeah, it's called Hell Fucking Yeah. So go for it.
Yeah, right. Right up my alley.
Yeah, the reason I hit record is because I've actually forgot to hit record before.
Oh yeah, I bet.
I'd be halfway, 40 minutes through a podcast, and I'm like, oh my god, like how do I? I'm embarrassed. Like how do I even tell this person?
What do you say what do you say to the guest?
Yeah, that I'm a total fucking idiot, you know. So, Noah Hathaway.
Yes, sir.
It's so nice to meet you, man. This is I gotta be honest with you. This is kind of surreal because I grew up watching the NeverEnding Story. You know what I mean? If someone would have told me one day I'd be talking to Atreyu on my computer, I don't even know if I knew what a computer was then. But what was that? 1986, right?
Well, it came out in 84-ish.
Came out in 84.
We shot for a year, so from between 83 and 84, we shot, and then it was supposed to be released later, and I guess Supergirl was really shit. And they panicked, and then because they did like a big campaign for Supergirl.
Right.
There was a lot of money put into all the commercials and all that crap, and they just and so that we had no lead up, we had nothing, no commercial, we had nothing. They just stuffed it in the movie theater. So it took a while. It took a while for it to generate some talk. It took a couple of years.
But, absolutely, yeah.
You know,
but
if they hadn't done that, it probably immediately would have been recognized everywhere. You know, it's a crazy ass, wonderfully crazy, retardedly. It's dude. It's such a hard. Even though after 40 years, it's really hard to kind of describe what the NeverEnding Story is to people. You're like, well, it's puppets, but it's not, and it's it's really deep. I mean,
yeah.
I've just never seen a movie myself. I know a couple people, and I've just never seen anybody, like a group of people, like just attach themselves to and to a film like this, and it's so deep for a lot of people. I get people that are like, I mean, anytime I show up and do a convention or an appearance, I get folks that are like, pull me aside. And they're like, dude, this saved my life. Like,
really,
legit. I mean, every show I do, every time I do one, there's at least one person, if not more. I don't know about Star Wars, or I love Star Wars and the Empire, or the first three.
Right.
I haven't seen any of the new ones since I think after Jedi. At the time it was done, I tapped out.
Yeah.
But you don't see people coming up to Mark going, Star Wars saved my life.
Right.
I mean, maybe, maybe now with the way it is with I mean, it's global now, but there's just this thing that resonates with people and really hits home with this movie. It's a trip.
Well, you know what I think it is, especially like in comparison to Star Wars, is that it's more like intimate, or you know what I mean? Like I think people feel more of a connection to it. Star Wars is it's so big, it's hard for people to have that small connection with it, I think.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's such a special movie, man. It really is. And so it is. It's been 40 years, right? Like exactly, right?
Brother, I got the grays to support it. You too, man. You gotta.
Yeah.
I don't grow my beard out because I think I got more gray than you do in the beard.
yeah, man. You know, I just let it go. Everyone's like, why don't you, put some? No, fuck you. I like it,
or whatever.
I like it like this. This is me. You know what I mean?
I did that for a little bit, and then I said, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna shave."
Yeah. I actually cut hair for a living. That's what I do.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, right behind this wall here is my shop. I solely run it. It's just me here, and it's something I wouldn't say it's my dream, but it's enjoyable. Like I don't dread going to work. You know?
That's better than most, though. You know what I mean? If you could not dread going to work every day, you're ahead of the game, brother. You know.
Listen,
you're a richer man than most.
Yeah. I have no one over my shoulder. You know, it's just
That's
me.
awesome.
And yeah, like I said, it's something I wake up and I'm not like, oh, I gotta go do this. I'm happy. I'm happy with it.
Hey,
You know.
I feel you. I feel you.
But what?
If it doesn't feel like work, you're in the
Yeah.
plus section.
Right. Right.
I had a friend growing up, Armando. He cut hair at Giuseppe Franco's, so we used to go hang out there all the time. And hair business is a trippy business too. There's
It
a lot of
is.
characters and drama, and
Yeah.
I was blown away. I went to some of the hair shows with him, and I was like, wow,
Yeah.
it's its own microcosm of weirdness.
It really is, man. And you know why? I figured out why. And it's the reason why I work by myself now, is because you don't need anything to be besides a license to do it professionally. You don't need anything. You can come like directly out of jail and cut hair.
And
You don't need a resume. You don't need a background check. You don't need anything.
Hey, I could do a fade.
Yeah.
I had
I
had a buddy of mine, my buddy Tone, the brother I've been friends with for since I was like 17. He taught me. He was like, "No, you gotta. I'm tired of going to the barber." He taught me how to fade, do a
Yeah.
fade. I'm no good, but
It looks like you do a fine job. Yeah.
well,
I used to cut my own
this has
hair.
grown out a little. My wife helps me out. I can't get this little strip in the back. There's that little.
Yeah. You got to use mirrors and shit. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah, I know. I cut my own hair, and that's kind of how I learned how to cut hair. So,
That's cool.
But once I went into school, I realized that I didn't know shit really, and then I honed in on that, and here we are.
Yeah, it's a trip when you see somebody that really does hair that elevates the game.
Yeah,
you're like, I don't know shit.
Yeah.
And still, how in this? Yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing this for 10 years, and there's still things that blow me out of the water. It's just crazy. I mean, for the most part,
that way forever, hopefully.
Yes, it's amazing.
Done growing, you're dead.
Yeah, that's right. I'm glad to still have my hair. I know a lot of people who lost it. That's it's a hard pill to swallow, but
yeah, especially I mean, these days it's it's frightening.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of reasons to lose your hair today. Absolutely.
I know. Let's not talk about it. I'm trying to hang on to whatever I got.
No. So where are you now? You live in LA?
I'm just outside LA.
Okay.
It's, like between. It's like just before Ontario.
Okay.
So it's like Montclair, Claremont, right in there. It's just got a little house out here. It's a little more quiet. People don't show up at 4 o'clock in the morning knocking on your door too much. Drunk friends. So it's nice. I was living in Vegas for the last 3 years up until we've been here 2 years, I think. Right. Beginning of the pandemic, I got out of Dodge. I mean, there were cop cars turned over in front of my house on fire. Wow. People were shooting, people at people. My buddy had a mall he owned like maybe 4 or 5 blocks from my apartment, and he hit me up, and they were looting his place. So I ran up the middle of like Van Nuys, like Sherman Oaks right in there. I ran up the street with my M4 and my Glock and like tennis shoes and shorts, and I ran by a bunch of cops, and the cops just gave me like the fist bump. Like that was it.
Oh, wow.
Down the street, I have pictures like a block from where we were, like I guess that was like our our stronghold. There was 2 cop cars on fire, flipped over, and people were shooting at us and throwing bottles and stuff. So after that, I was like, let me get out of here for a little bit. Yeah. And I got the last. Yeah. This is how many people were getting the hell out. I called U-Haul. It was like 4 a.m. I go, I got to get out of Dodge. I'm out. I was just packing the kids. My dogs are my kids. Pack the dogs up and the shit and get the fuck out. This guy put me on hold. I don't know. I was maybe an hour, 45 minutes. I got the last U-Haul in California. He goes, brother, the door don't shut and it's got graffiti. I go, sold, dude. I'm out. And I was gone. Like it just, yeah. It was mellow. Yeah. I mean, Vegas was in comparison was way mellow.
Right.
But I traveled every weekend pretty much. Nobody wanted to go anywhere. Nobody wanted to do anything. You got celebrities in these plexiglass booths, like cringy as fuck. You know, charging people $100 to slip a piece of paper under a little slot so the germies don't get them. Yeah, so I just said, fuck it, I'll go, you know, run around for people, and yeah, it was. I was gone almost every weekend for probably 2 years. I was at somewhere, you know.
So that was starting. That was starting in 2020.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I was in Vegas when it started, and man, we came out of a restaurant. They actually threw us out of the restaurant. They were like, "You got to go." There was nobody on the street. It was like Night of the Comets when they come out of the thing, and it's like ghost. There were no street lights on. I drove through Vegas with no street lights, no lights, like nothing. It was the creepiest thing I'd ever seen. And we got the hell out. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
It was wild, man. I was here at the time it happened, and we had to close down. And you know, I was like, well, I still need to work, so I just set up shop in my garage and did that for
like a neighborhood cut.
yeah. I just took all my people and just invited them over to my house. It's 5 minutes from here, so
hey, adapt and improvise, adapt, right?
You got to do what you got to do, you know. And it took me a while to get. It took me a while to get back here too, because it was dead. You know, people were, you know, I had my regular people, but nobody knew was coming in, and like I'm paying rent here now, so I'm like I actually wound up closing down again myself, and then I reopened. Which I've been
sucks.
here.
I'm sorry to hear that. That was by their design, unfortunately.
Yeah. But I've been back here almost 2 years now, and it's yeah. They said 2 weeks.
How's everything? Where are you? Where are you precisely? Like in the city?
So I'm actually on Long Island.
Okay. I was there a couple of months back.
Yeah, so I'm about an hour outside of New York City.
Strong Island.
Well, an hour without traffic, and 4 hours about. Yeah, never. I was actually just talking about that today. It's impossible to get off of this island, man. It's like,
but we had those issues when we were there.
Yeah, it's you have to leave at 1 o'clock in the morning to get over the bridges. Otherwise, you're just sitting in gridlock traffic. It's
I don't even think we went into the city. We were like, too much traffic. It was just a nightmare. I went for fuck it. We're just gonna stay in Long Island, you know, like it was just too much of a headache. And I don't you know, who stays in Long Island?
I don't know, dude. You have to be out of your fucking mind. For real. So we were talking about Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just saying I lived in Manhattan for a couple of years in the 90s, early 95 to 97.
Yeah.
On Houston, between A and B down there.
Okay. Yeah.
Right down the street, right down the street from CBGB.
It's funny, man. You know, everyone says New York is it's bad. Listen, it's always been kind of bad, you know?
Oh, yeah.
You just got to know where to go and where to be.
But you know what, though? The type of bad that it was in the 70s and the 80s was a different, like...
Yeah.
It was a different bad. Like, I don't know if it's any better. Bad is bad, I guess. But when you know it's bad and you can see it, smell it, taste it, it's bad. Right. It doesn't seem as scary and threatening as if it's all nice and polished and pretty. And then behind your back, they're stabbing you or they're fucking slitting your throat. Like that seems worse to me, you know, than just bad. You know, like the hose and the. I mean, the first time I went, my half sister took me to the Bronx to show me the Stroll. Like I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Like, dude, we don't have that in California. We used to,
right?
But you could see it. It's right there. You're like, oh, okay. Well, I know not to go this way. It's not hidden and you know, under Mickey Mouse hats and shit.
Yeah. How is California nowadays?
Oh, it fucking sucks. You know, I can't lie. It's California used to be a great place, man. I'm born and raised here. I mean, God, if you went to Santa Monica High School, you had your PE class was surf class. You know what I mean? Like their PE was down on the beach in the morning till almost noon. Sick. Like, so and then all my friends, we all went. You know, it was just a great place to grow up. It was gorgeous. People were, I mean, it was always a little rugged, but nothing like it is now. And we got a lot of, I mean, we got 20 million illegal immigrants. and from my understanding, the number of of murderers and rapists and are in the like they're a couple 100,000 extra that they just
Sure.
So it's gotten rugged. I try not to let my wife go anywhere without me, and I'm always armed if we go anywhere these days.
Yeah.
And it's not just for my protection; it's everybody around us. It's grimy out here. Look,
What are the gun laws like there?
Oh, they suck. They're horrible.
Right?
They're very anti. Pardon?
Can you carry legally?
You can now. Forever you couldn't get a CCW in California to save your life. I don't care what you did. Now they've started. I think just this year they started okaying a bunch of them.
Wow.
So, yeah, it should be like Texas, where you just you do what you do.
You have it on your hip. You go into the store.
Yeah,
nobody fucks with you.
I'm not a fan of that. That makes me a little uncomfortable. The open carry.
Sure.
Plus, for me, I'm a certified firearms instructor. I've been for like 13 years.
Oh wow.
For me, you give up a big advantage that way. Is they see it, they know what you're about, they know what you could do. If they just think you're a normal Joe, the element of surprise is a big factor in overcoming something. Like
right.
An aggressive, overzealous bank robber or liquor store burglar or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's you have to train. That's not something. Look, I had a girl who I taught a couple classes to, and she got killed. And she thought she was going to pull her pistol and stop, be the hero. And then you don't practice every day. If you don't dry fire every day, if you don't do your course and work on certain things, it's like anything,
Right.
But that thing is, you want to gamble with your life.
Yeah.
I don't. So, we go train. Well, we haven't a lot lately, but my best friend and I, we got a spot we go to, and we work on different stuff when we go out, and it's a perishable skill, that's for sure.
Right.
And like I just talked to some cops, and the officer was like, "No, I'm a horrible shot." And I go, well, shouldn't you work on that? It's your job.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, but it's just I go, it doesn't matter. This is your job where you have a lethal weapon attached to you, and you're a terrible shot. So I spent like 20 minutes like explaining like grip and trigger squeeze and all that to her, and she hadn't heard most of it. Which was
that's
terrifying.
Crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's a dangerous job to begin with.
Yeah. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't want it.
No, God, no.
I mean, they were never here to protect and serve anyways. They're here to enforce their codes and their law. Like, that's it. They're not your friend, and they were never here to protect us.
Right.
They're there to do their job, which is to enforce these code violations or these, and that's it.
Right.
So I think people got a weird misconception of what they really do. What their job description really is. So
to serve and protect. No.
Break people's necks.
Yeah. So my father grew up like I grew up. My father was an NRA instructor.
Yeah,
safety instructor. Too. So there was always guns in the house, and I was always taught what to do and what not to do with them.
At what age was he? Did you start seeing like firearms and stuff? You were young, right?
Yeah, I was young. I probably 11, 12 when I'd probably even start asking questions about things like that. Right. You know what I mean? He had like things mounted on the wall and stuff, but they were kind of like old collectible things. But I was like, oh, where'd you get that? Or what else do you have? And, he started showing me things and teaching me, the things. So like that stuff is ingrained in me. I actually just
shoot yourself or anybody else.
Nope. Nope.
Isn't it funny how guns just don't arbitrarily go off and shoot people?
Right.
It takes the will of a person, an individual.
It does.
I mean, it's just a tool. It's like a hammer. A hammer doesn't jump off the table and bash somebody in the head 52 times all by itself.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I actually just got my license a few years ago, and I wound up getting a pistol. I got a Glock, and
19.
What's up? Glock 19. Yep.
So I got a Gen 3. I've had it. Same gun I've been shooting for 14 years.
Right. It's great gun.
Still
Yeah.
never had a stovepipe, a double feed, and if I ever have had a malfunction, it's because it's crappy ammo.
Yeah.
I think all around that's the best all around gun you could possibly get for the money. Like if you factor everything in, it makes sense. You change the sight on it and change the trigger. That's what I do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know.
So I don't carry it, but it is in my house, and it's funny. It's never gone off. You know, it's never gone off in the
Isn't
house
that
on
weird?
its own. Yeah, it's crazy.
But your father spent a little time with you explaining and teaching, and that's part of you know. I mean, we ended up not having fathers in the homes in the 70s. You know, latchkey kids, and so I think that's probably a contributing factor to little kids shooting themselves in the face or shooting their brothers. Is there's no man in the house to sit and go, hey, this is really dangerous. This is how you hold it. This is because kids are not stupid. Kids are like kids are, especially these days, kids are really smart. And if you spent 5 minutes with them instead of just leaving them to their own devices all the time, you know, it wouldn't happen.
I know, absolutely.
I mean, I see videos of kids 9 years old shoot better than I do. Yeah. Like two hands. Like I blow. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Racking and running and gunning it. It's like 9-year-old girl. Blew me away.
No, it is. It's amazing. And well, it's kind of cool to see that too. You know what I mean? It's cool to see kids kids play video games, right? And they think that it's like that. It's not like that, or you see, even if you see like
that. Although I've seen stuff recently that look like I'm living in Grand Theft Auto. Like it's, I saw a guy come out of a hotel room and go to with double barrels rolling, like double, like 45s at the cops. But it was like, he wasn't trying to move or duck, or he wasn't trying to take cover or find conceal. None of that. He just, like he was in a video game. So I mean, I think with the mental illness that like the huge problem that we have in this country, and then all the video games that they've just been stuffing in I do think that there's a disconnect of reality in a lot of people. They're probably on drugs too. But I looked at this video and I was like, oh, this dude thinks he's in Grand Theft Auto. Just everything he did was like that video game. It was really weird. So it's it's getting really weird.
No, it is. It's all fucked up. And before we got disconnected, we were talking about fences actually. And, I have little fences here. Have you ever seen little fences?
No.
Okay, you're about to. So this is little fences.
Oh no!
Oh, his little guitar fell. He's got his boots on.
That's too funny.
I made this actually. So this was
It's a voodoo doll.
This was it needs a little touch up. He's been through a lot.
You didn't get the right guest.
But this is Liam Neeson from Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
What's his name? Qui-Gon Jinn or something like that. And cut his hair, put the hat on there, made this little vest, and these are Liam Neeson's pants and boots, which just work. This guy's been in a couple of interviews, and
it's so funny.
I made a few music videos with him in it. They never got released or anything, but they were pretty funny.
I like his. Yeah, we were checking his music out, and it's so interesting and different, but it has this like 80s vibe to it, which is weird. I was like, wait, it's got this. I go, bro. I go, what's with the folky 80s thing going? He goes, that's exactly. It was because my wife loves the 80s stuff.
The most recent album was actually like that. It was very new wave-ish, right?
Yeah.
It had some elements going on there, which I really liked. And I remember when he sent me the tracks before it even came out. I was like, dude, this has like a, almost like a Joy Division kind of thing going on in the background there.
That's what I said.
Yeah. So it's so I mean, his music, it's funny. So I interviewed him like fucking 20 years ago. Like I was doing this little magazine thing. Yeah. And he was, at the time he was actually living on the island. And that's when I first met him. That was a long time ago. And then we reconnected like 2020. And that's when this whole thing started here with the podcast.
Right.
But I've been a fan of his music since day one. Like I have like the holy grail of his stuff. Like the first EP he ever put out, there was like 50 of them made. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's
wild. Out the back of brother's trunk.
Yeah. And now we've become so close that he's sending me stuff in the mail. I'm like, I have like a museum. I have like a Fences museum essentially.
That's funny.
In my house.
I went to meet Shooter Jennings, and he had one of those of me in his house, which was
no way.
They're amazing, but they pulled these drawers open, and there was like a Noah shrine,
right?
Which we hadn't met yet, so it was a little scary, but no, it was super rad.
That's awesome.
I'll never. It always blows me away how many famous people I like grovel to, who like fanboy out when we meet. Like,
yeah,
people have been in tears, like big people that play in front of a million people, shaking and bugging, and I'm like, I don't get it, but I see it. I don't.
Well, you don't get it because it was you. You know what I mean? But because if you're like me, you critique everything you do, right?
Oh yeah,
to the T. So
horribly.
When somebody likes it or connects with it in a different way, it's mind blowing. You know, like even if someone says they like my podcast, I'm like, really? Like, holy shit, that means so much to me. It's such a little stupid thing, right? But it means so much because you've helped you've touched somebody in some kind of way, and I think that's what it's all about.
Not in a creepy.
Right. I was looking for a different word.
Biden sniffing your kids' way.
Yeah. I was looking for a different word there.
There's going to be a knock on my door after this podcast, and I'm going to end up in a dark van with tinted windows.
Yes, absolutely.
If you knew what was going on in my life, that's not that far-fetched. I've met some real characters in the last couple of years, man. I got to tell you.
I bet. Yeah. So you grew up in what town?
I'm born and raised in Hollywood, West Hollywood, Los Angeles. Yeah.
Okay.
Born and raised Hollywood, West Hollywood. Grew up in the same neighborhood as Slash and a bunch of those that we all kind of. They went to Fairfax High, and I lived like right in the same neighborhood. Hi, buddy. Oh, my dog wants to come sit with us.
Oh, hell yeah.
Come on, bud. Come on, you got it. There you go. Oh.
What's your dog's name?
I had lost my. I had a French bulldog, a service dog, which is funny. People are like, "You had a French bulldog as a service dog?" I go, "Yeah, he was badass too." 14 years, and he passed 2 years ago, and we had just been here a year, and we were standing in the yard, and I go, "I think it's time for a new dog, like to get a dog." And I was destroyed from this one.
Yeah,
like he never left my side for 14 years. Like you look down. I would catch myself looking down all the time for him for a while, and 3 days later, I hear my wife screaming my name outside. It's like 5 a.m. I run out in the rain, and there's this pit bull sitting in our yard, in the rain, just sitting there looking at us.
Wow!
And he had come around the corner and just parked it right there, and he wasn't going anywhere. And so I told my wife, I said, "Hey, I already knew it was going to happen." I go, "Give it half hour, 20 minutes. If he's still outside, we'll take him in and we'll dry him up and give him some warm and feed him." He hasn't left. I mean, he's trained. He's an incredible dog. Just That's the sweetest, most gentle. He's a beagle pit bull. So we named him Bodhi for enlightenment. So he's a good man. He's a great dog.
That's so amazing, man.
3 days after he showed up.
That's
after
amazing.
I kind of went, all right, yeah. So he's my little godsend.
And I totally hear you, man. We had a beagle for 16 years.
Okay. 16 years. Did he not shut the fuck up ever?
Did he do what?
Did he not shut the fuck up ever?
So he was kind of quiet like his whole life. He was more vocal when he was older.
Okay.
But like when we'd come home or someone would knock at the door, he'd go fucking crazy. Other than that, no, he was pretty quiet.
Man, he doesn't shut the fuck up all day. He's like, my wife and he have conversations, and I mean, it's weird. He like talks.
Yeah.
Don't ask me how, but he communicates what he wants.
Right.
And he like these moans and different. It blows me away. I just sit there like,
yeah.
But
Yeah.
Yeah, he says yes and no, and he'll tell you, like, you go, "Do you want food?" And you go, "Nah," like, it's
Yeah.
brother, it's a trip. And I got a ferret too.
It's funny now that you say it, like, he did talk like that sometimes when he wanted
He was
something.
That's what
Yeah.
I talked to a breeder. They don't shut up.
He was
like the
ver
most
he
talkative
was
breed.
very smart dog.
Yeah.
Um,
Good boy.
and we lost him in
He loves
2020, and that was, like, the most devastating thing ever, and we were talking about getting another dog before he passed, and, like, I was like,
poor
I
baby.
don't know. I don't think it's a good idea because he was a mess in his last year of life, really.
Mm.
And I was like, I don't want to do that to him. It's not fair. Like, we bring like some new fucking dog in here going crazy. He's not gonna be able to do
Right.
anything. And then when he passed, I was like, I felt like I lost. It was worse than losing a person in a way. I was like devastated for like 2 weeks straight. I mean, I'm still devastated, but I was like crying
Well,
for like 2 fucking weeks, man.
I so when I turned 50, both of my parents passed and my dog all in the same month.
Oh my god.
And without a shadow of a doubt, the dog was much worse than the parents.
Right. Wow.
Which
Yeah.
I actually felt guilty. I was like, shouldn't I be more upset?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. No,
we
you
had a
can't.
really a strange, really, we had a bad. I got the shit kicked out of me until I was 14 every day. So
Yeah.
like how, and I hadn't talked to them in a bunch of years. Just they were just really not the nicest people in the world.
Mhm.
But the dog never
No,
did me wrong a second ever,
I
and just
understand.
was
Yeah.
my best friend ever. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was much harder.
Yeah. I mean, I lost my mother 2 years ago, and it was
I'm
like,
sorry.
it was
Yeah,
brutal. Thank you. It was brutal. And, we were close, Um,
gotcha.
but yeah, prior to that, losing the dog, it sucked, man. And I was like, I was like, I don't know if I can do it again. I don't know.
Yeah. We've had that
But I
discussion
love
because
them.
we've had ferrets and we lost a couple this year, brother and sister, and my wife's still not okay.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
been over a year and it's so they're like, I don't know if we can do this anymore. I mean, I love
Yeah.
animals and but then again,
Right.
we'll probably get another dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
bring so much joy and so much love and just unconditionally. There's nothing like it, and they're
Yeah.
so
And
good. We don't deserve them. They're just
right. Right.
so
And
good.
I think you mentioned before too that they're like your kids, right? Like, do you have
Oh,
kids, or
absolutely.
those are your kids? The
Yeah,
dogs are your kids?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's the same. We don't have kids, so it was the same
Me
thing
neither.
for us. Yeah,
Yeah, me
yeah.
neither. Didn't want any. Yeah, I
No, me
just
neither.
yeah. I like to
Yeah,
be able to go. Oh, we want to travel. We go travel.
exactly,
I
exactly.
mean, we got Bodie, but my best friend usually takes Bodie.
Yeah.
They love each other, so he goes and stays with Bestie, and uh,
Well, I'll tell you this: now that we don't have the dog and we don't have kids to begin with, we can literally do whatever we want. You know what I
well,
mean?
but you don't go anywhere now, right?
Yeah. No, no, we stay at home and watch TV. But we could. The option's there.
Well,
Um.
I took them. I lived in Europe a couple years. I lived in Amsterdam
Oh wow.
from like 2008 to 11 or something like that, and I took
Right.
the dogs and they've been all over. They were all over the world. I got a little
That's awesome.
Chihuahua mutt that stays
Oh
with
wow.
Kayla's mom half the time because there's a little too much. She's 15, a little too
Hmm.
much commotion around here
Yeah.
for her. So we get her half the week. We take her 2 or 3 days, and then we can tell it's enough. She starts getting a little anxious and wound up.
Sure.
But yeah, so we got joint custody with we gave grandma joint custody, but it
There you
works
go.
out really well. I had to
That's
board
great.
them the first time I ever boarded my animals ever. They both got kennel cough,
Oh wow. Yeah.
and at 15, it almost killed her. So she went to
Yeah.
like recuperate at grandma's, and they're like two old ladies sitting in the house together. So why take her out of that? She's really happy and comfortable, and she's healthy now. So we
Right.
get her up the weekend or when we're when we're around a couple
Sure.
days.
Yeah. No, that's great. So how many dogs do you have total?
We
3?
got two and a ferret.
Yeah. 2 and a ferret. Nice.
Yeah,
Nice. How old's the ferret?
I think she's 4. I think she's
And
4.
how long do ferrets live in general? Okay.
Thinking about that my wife's here, she'll have a meltdown.
Totally.
That's her baby.
Yeah, no.
They're great, dude. I always wanted a ferret, and the wife came with 3, and yeah, they're so funny and so much fun, and they don't stink. My favorite that passed, she smelled like perfume. Like
Yeah.
she had this
Really?
perfumey. She was a blonde. I like blondes anyways. It's true. My wife's blonde. She smelled like perfume.
Wow.
They're just great creatures, man. It's just one
Wow.
of those things. They're so great, but they only live for 6
Yeah.
years is a long time. I
Yeah.
had
Wow.
rats though. I had some boutique rats. They were
Really?
great. Oh, they're great. They got all little personalities and
Did you keep them loose or?
no, I had a big cage, but I would
Yeah.
close the doors in the room and in a room and let them run around. Absolutely.
Nice.
I
Nice.
had they were all from The Damned, Vanian, Captain Sensible, and Ratto.
That's amazing.
Type of
You know, I
stuff.
was actually going to ask you. So you
Yeah.
started acting very young, right?
I got my SAG card in 1974.
Wow.
I was
So
3.5, I think, something stupid like that.
no shit. How'd that
Yeah, I've been
happen?
working, brother. I've been working 50. I'm still working. I work 50 years already.
Yeah.
Like
Wow.
people go, wait, what? Wait. I go, I'm at a job now working. Like I've been working 50 years.
That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm fucking tired.
Yeah. So how old were you then when NeverEnding Story was made?
I was maybe just 11.
Oh wow.
I auditioned for a year for that damn thing, which was worse than shooting it almost because I mean, you ever go on a job interview, dude, your stomach's in knots, you're nervous, you're like, I gotta pay bills, I gotta so for a year, I think they had a different director that they had chosen first. And
Right.
he, I guess, wasn't cutting the mustard, but they saw like they did one of those worldwide search for kid type of thing. They saw probably 50,000 kids or something crazy, and they fired the dude. They shit canned him, and they got Wolfgang. And then
Yeah.
evidently they were about to do the same thing to Wolfgang, and Steven Spielberg came in and rewrote the script. And because if you know that, then you're like, oh yeah, it is kind of Spielbergy.
Sure.
So yeah, they gave him. He's got the Orn in his collection, but he saved the shoot. And then so 6 months with one guy, and then they did it all over again. They did a excuse me, another search for the kid, and I got it both times.
Wow.
Which it makes sense when I finally went to Germany for like the screen test, I already knew I had it. They don't fly you to Germany to tell you you're not going to have it. So uh, they took us to meet this artist who'd been working, like I think he worked with Michael Ende beforehand, but he showed me drawings from like 3 or 4 years before, and you would have thought I was sitting right in front of the man. I mean, it wasn't like my likeness, like that was me. It was creepy. So I don't know if that's just I embodied that. I'm just that was me. People were like, "You were
Yeah.
this hero," and I go, I just turned it up to 11, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
That was it. Like that was me. I was
Yeah.
this ballsy, good, heroic, sweet, confident kid. That was me.
Yeah.
And when I saw the script, I was like, "Oh shit! I'll just be myself."
Right. It's funny. I've seen the movie a million times, and but I haven't watched it in probably a good like 7, 8 years. And
right.
I watched it last night. I was like, I need a refresher.
Oh.
And man, it's still, first of all, it still works. It's still a great movie. It totally stood the test of time.
Which is crazy in itself. It's
not.
It's not. It's weird. It's not cheesy, but it
No,
has that.
It's not.
It has that 80s. I want to say cheese, but it's not. It's kind of hard to put it in a box that way.
I agree. I definitely agree. I know what you're saying.
Because if you told somebody about it, they'd be like, "That's fucking cheesy." Like I don't know. But then they see it, and it's not that.
But the way it was done was great. I mean, some of the scene, obviously the horse scene, Artax, and like all that stuff.
Dude, that took 3 weeks to shoot, just that scene.
It's 3 weeks. Wow.
3 weeks.
What was it like
and crying and freezing water and the horse stepping on you, and it was gnarly.
Wow.
I don't think
Why
I've
did it
ever
take
been more
3 weeks?
satisfied and more exhausted in my life.
I bet. Yeah, I mean, especially at 11 years old. I mean,
Yeah.
holy shit. 3 weeks to shoot that scene. So how long did you work on the movie total?
A year.
Oh, wow.
We shot for just about a year. So I moved to
Wow.
Germany. We shot at Bavaria Studios in Munich, which was what an amazing place. That Bavaria is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
I'd live there now if it was.
Right.
It's just a great place. They put us up in a nice little condo spot, not far from the studio. They had one of the biggest sound stages. It was one or two in the world at the time, and it was 6 foot. You open the soundstage door, and it was 6 foot mud from one end to the other with trees and smoke. I mean, you were in the swamps of sadness. And so there was zero imagination. You didn't have to do shit. You just had to walk on and know your lines. I mean, you were in this cold. Oh, it was cold, man. Oh,
Wow.
freezing cold, and just it was dangerous, and I mean, it lended to, I think, more realistic performances than you get nowadays.
Sure.
Or at least, I would hate having to do a movie sitting in a green jumpsuit talking to a tennis ball. Like, that sucks.
Right.
That sucks. I know they're you get paid handsomely, but they got people.
Yeah,
like,
where's the connection though,
Yeah, people like, these big, A movie actors got to be like, this fucking sucks, dude. Like, this is all I just like, there's just zero reward. And there's got to be something more than money, you know what I mean? Like, you got to,
Sure.
or you're going to have a real empty life,
Absolutely. No, it looked dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, they almost killed me a couple times. That's for sure. Came pretty
Wow.
fucking close a couple times. Yeah. Sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah. I mean, we had a great stunt team, but still, there's so much stuff going on that there's things that happen that you just can't foresee, or
Right.
I almost drowned in the mud once when Falcor's coming to like pick me up out of the mud. There's no oxygen under that dry ice, and they had me like this. They had me like, and I passed out and went under the mud, and they had to dive in and pull in gunk out of my throat, and that was just one of them. People think it was fun. Like, Wolfgang did 40 takes every take, every scene.
Yeah.
So you got how many setups to fall out of that damn tree? One or two times was fun. 300?
Right.
Not so fun, dude.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, did you enjoy making that movie? But
yes and no. I mean, there was a lot of stuff. It beat me to death. I mean, before we even started filming, I spent 2 months in the hospital in traction. I had a horse fall on me and broke my back in 2 places.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
It got spooked. We were working, and I don't know why they had me. The horse wasn't one of the stunt horses, wasn't the movie horse. They had me on just some fucking horse and got spooked, and it took off and went to go jump out of the stable and didn't make it, and boom, right on top of me from over the top of the stable of the fence.
Oh my God.
And landed on top of me. And I woke up and I was in, they had me in traction from being pulled from one end to the other, almost 2 months like that. And then I filmed for a year. So it was it's bittersweet. Yeah. People, I mean, 40 years later, people still talk about it. They got a new one they're making.
I heard about that.
So there's all these, like, okay, to be a part of it, and a part of history, I guess, movie history is cool, but they fucked me up. Once you mess your back up like that, that's a wrap on your, you know what I mean? There's only so much in your life you're going to do.
I mean, that would never happen today. I mean,
no,
on a major production or anything like that. That's insane.
Well, that was before the Coogan Law. It was before the Coogan Law, which Jackie Coogan, he was the kid in the Champ, right? Not the Charlie Chaplin. Was it the Champ? No. Anyway, Jackie Coogan Law was for kids, and this was before it. plus it was in Germany with a German company, so none of that shit was under their, like under their jurisdiction anyway.
Sure.
So it was, so there was just a lot with the production that was just cringy and shit. But like, how do you not acknowledge the movie? And how do you kind of like, I did for, there were several years, I just wouldn't have anything to do with it because, they didn't pay me. Like it was supposed to be a couple 2-3 month shoot and it went a year, but they figured, well, fuck you. You're just going to get what we were going to pay you for the 2-3 months. And so that's, you know what I mean? Like I never got really paid. And so there's several years where I was like, I just wouldn't talk about it because it was like, why? And then when people start talking to you and they start telling you their stories and they start telling you that it saved their life or it changed the outcome of something, a direction they were going that they shouldn't have been, or just, I'd be a piece of shit if I just was like, nah, I'm still not going to have anything to do with it.
Right.
So I kind of, I opened up to it a little bit and let go of some of that bullshit. But it's the fans that actually brought me around more than anything.
Sure.
It's the people that love this movie, love it so dearly that they enrolled me in it, like in getting behind it. And so it's, for me, it's not really behind the movie, it's the people. Like that's what I cherish are the relationships and the people that it brings together and their stories. That's crazy because I've heard some gnarly stories. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna move on from NeverEnding Story, but one more question about it. As far as the new trilogy, supposedly,
do you have
anything to do with it?
My opinion.
Well, your opinion, and do you have anything to do with it? Any involvement at all?
No, what's funny is I when I moved to Vegas, I found the guy who's in charge of Michael Enda's estate, and I was like, you know what? If we took the book, the first two part, the book is in two parts, and you did like a Dungeons and Dragons board game of the NeverEnding Story, that would be fucking awesome. People would get into that. And I went and met with the guy, and he was just kind of he was German or Austrian. They're kind of dead. You can't read them sometimes.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years later, he had to have already been working on the deal, and it had to have been in the mix. Didn't say anything to me, which is fine. It's none of my business. But my opinion is, I'm a big fan of history. Mm-hmm. I think history is a great teacher of what's to come, of people, and history does not shed good light on people doing remakes, reboots. They're just shit, to put it. For the most part, I'm not saying that's going to be shit, but history tells you they got a real uphill battle.
Absolutely.
I saw the greatest.
That's so beloved.
I saw a great. Somebody said Jenna Jameson is a friend of mine. She sent me something yesterday, and it was just a brother. He was like, "Yo, the NeverEnding Story," and he was talking about the new one, but it was just hilarious. He was like, "Who the fuck is this Falcor? That is not motherfucking Falcor." But I was dying.
Yeah.
That's the consensus, I think. I think most people are like, why do it again? Why even try it? Some people are like, yeah, it'll avail it to another generation, which, to be honest, I'm already 3 generations in. I could give a fuck if another one sees it. I already feel old, man.
Yeah. No, I get that, but I think that the charm of the original is just, I know there's the sequels. I don't recall those being any good. I think they were kind of trash.
What did my wife say? She goes, she thought the second was bad until she saw the third.
Oh yeah, the third's horrendous. Yeah.
So you got to grade it on a curve, is what she just said.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I was looking that up the other day, and actually, Jack Black was in that. I had no idea.
I think that was his first gig. I think that was his first gig. Probably,
yeah,
it might have been.
Right.
Yeah, unibrow too.
Yeah. It was. I don't remember it, but it was.
Let's not talk about Jack Black.
Okay, let's not talk about Jack Black.
Because then I'll say things about slapping certain people, and then it's all downhill from there.
Yeah. No, I get it. I know they had that thing with the that Tenacious D thing going on there. I don't know. It's
people's egos have gotten so fucking out of whack, and I think it stems from the internet, and I think it stems from everybody's a fucking celebrity. Every girl has an OnlyFans and is making money. Everybody's an influencer. I influence people, and I think that says it all right there.
Right.
Is motherfucker, you don't influence anybody, but yourself in your own delusional fantasy. Like
right.
People are not as important as they fucking seem, as they make themselves out to believe. And I think if people's egos were in check, very easily can go, oh, I see where this candidate could be good. I just think people's egos have just gotten so crazy. I mean, I heard a teacher talking about killing one of the candidates. Like, I go, lady, you just lost all your credibility. We're talking about a human being.
Right.
Like, we're not taught, like, there's this, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Like, nowhere in my life would I ever feel, think, or say something like that about not necessarily a human being, but about, a presidential candidate that were like, I can sit back and go, okay, well, there's some things about this person that's good. And it blows me away. And I really do think that's people's egos have just run wild, and nobody can, what's the word? Nobody can, they can't separate like the bullshit from reality anymore.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's crazy. Just to even like eliminate any kind of presidential thing or celebrity thing, just to not agree with somebody and wish they were dead is insane.
Right? There's such a disconnect. There's such a disconnect. Bill Gates, that's another story.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's just an evil human being who's out to do harm. Presidential candidate, nobody's like, I just don't get people anymore, man.
No, it's hard to. It's really difficult. So yeah. What were we talking about? We were talking about the movie. What was 11-year-old Noah listening to?
Okay, that's interesting. So my mother, I grew up listening to like Edith Piaf and hippie music because my parents were hippies. I used to get bean sprouts and shit in my lunch. I get bullied for that. But then when so I would get money, like I'd get an allowance when I'd work, which is like, it's so ass backwards. I don't even get started with that. But I would go there was a Tower Records up the street on Sunset, and I could go and buy records or whatever. And so I started getting a record collection. And the way I found records was by the art on the covers.
Oh yeah, I still do it.
And so so I would go in and be like, oh, wow, this is creepy. So I came home with, I think it was right before the NeverEnding Story. I came home with Zeppelin's 2, 3, Houses of the Holy, Bark at the Moon, Diary of a Madman, and Number of the Beast. So that's to me. I'm more of a punk music guy than a metal guy more, but that to me is that's like my one album is that Maiden album is just to me
it's pretty much perfect.
Thank you. To me that's the metal album of all metal albums is that thing. But then when I shot the NeverEnding Story, I went over to London, and I walked into a little record shop, and it was grimy. Like we were down in like off of Carnaby Street, and I picked up I remember that it was a shopkeeper. He showed me it was a blue vinyl and a red vinyl in this double thing, and it was The Exploited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was their first album. It was 83. And wow. I was in Scotland and hung out with Beans. They're my all-time. So I got The Exploited, their first album and GBH.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of set the kind of metal. I've always loved it. I'll always listen to it.
Yeah.
But the punk metal, the punk music kind of grabbed me by the balls and dragged me around for a while, you know, as it will.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's kind of, you know, that's kind of my wheelhouse these days. Still, I still, you know, I listen to the Misfits all the time. You know, but I still like newer stuff too. I used to listen to rap in the, you know, like in the 80s.
I think we all did at some point.
Yeah, NWA came out, and I was like, I got chased for like 35 minutes in a car chase because I was bumping their Dope Man album, and some gangsters didn't like it, and they chased me we had a car chase for a good half hour.
Wow, that's insane. Yeah.
But you know, I like a lot of folk music. I like everything, dude. I love opera. Like opera I never knew what it was about until I went and saw it.
Okay.
And I went and saw it with a bunch of people we knew, and I looked, and there was just a whole row of dudes crying like bitches. Right. Because it's so powerful, and it's so like just the emotion. I'd never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
And when I'm just, you know, I say smoke a joint and have a glass of wine, and I'll put opera on, and it takes you somewhere more than any other music. I feel it just there's just something about it, brother. So I, you know, that's my.
No, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I don't listen to it, but I don't think I've ever experienced it either. You know,
Frank Sinatra. I listen to a lot of Tony Bennett. You would never know. I mean, you know, I'm working on a 3/4 suit, so but you know, it'll go from the exploited to, you know, opera. I mean, not in the same playlist, but yeah.
I'm the same way, man. I'm all over the place with
a lot of folk. Music. Like that's why I liked Fence's music, because it had that 80s thing, but it also had that like that Coulter Wall feel, you know?
Yeah. He's got a style. Like when you hear him, you know who it is if you're familiar with him. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because there's tons of folk out there, and not all of it, but half of it sounds the same, you know?
Right.
And I'm not saying it's even bad. It just all kind of meshes together. But he stands out, you know, which is awesome.
Yeah, dude. Music is. I think music for me is probably, I think, the most important. I think for me, I have music going. If the music's not playing for a couple of hours, I start getting like a Jones on almost.
Oh yeah, I hear you, man. I have Apple Music on everything I own, so no matter where I am, it's playing. And same thing at home. I got the vinyl, I got the turntable. It's always going, always.
I had a good vinyl collection, and I went to work.
The best.
I went to work on Troll, and when I got back, somebody had robbed I had like maybe 1,000 records. Dude, somebody robbed all my shit, jacked all my stuff. So I stopped collecting vinyl. I just used.
I don't blame you.
Spotify.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I'll ever collect albums again after that.
Yeah, there's nothing more convenient than having it on the phone anyway. Listening to a record is an experience. You got to go flip the fucking thing over, you know.
What's your favorite top 3 albums?
Oof, man, that's brutal. You know, I asked this question a lot, and now
I beat you
now
to
I'm on
it.
the other side of it.
I beat you to it. I know.
Top 3 albums. Well, shit. Well, one of my favorite bands is Ween. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Is what?
Ween.
Queen?
No, Ween. W-E-N.
Oh, Ween. I've heard of them, but I don't know if if you played something, I'd probably know it, but no. I'll have to go when we're done, I'll play them.
Yeah, the only song that I know commercially that people know is Push the Little Daisies. It was on Beavis and Butthead.
Okay. I love Beavis and Butthead.
Other than that, they're all over the place. They have like a country album. They have they do every genre.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
It's kind of hard. Yeah, it's kind of hard to like pinpoint where they have different eras and shit. It's wild.
Dude, I got drunk with Mike Judge one night, a couple times actually, and dude, it was so funny sitting there and you just hear King of the Hill, and you just hear. I kept looking over, you know, going, "Wait, this is weird." And when he laughed, you could just hear.
Yeah.
I have a lot of stories.
Yeah, no, he's Mike Judge is amazing, man. He puts out some stuff. Absolutely, like Idiocracy and
absolutely, he's a
what an
stud.
underrated movie that is. Yeah, he's great.
And he's
Silicon
actually
Valley.
he is a stud. If when you meet him, you would you know he's like he's in shape. You just don't you can't peg him like he you know if you think about it, he thinks he's like some crazy artist
like
type
Slacker or something. Yeah,
yeah, and he's a good looking guy, kind of muscular. You know what I mean?
Right.
Got that chin.
Absolutely. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah. So top 3 albums, man. That's a tough one. So I grew up. I think my music taste started in the 90s. Really.
Okay. Ooh.
My brother's
90s.
My brother's 10 years older than me, so I had a lot of like inspiration from him. I got into like a lot of industrial stuff early, like when kids were listening to New Kids on the Block, I was listening to Skinny Puppy.
Yeah, we got same music taste then. Yeah.
So I started off with that. I mean, Skinny Puppy, like Too Dark Park or like Rabies, like one of those is definitely on the top, definitely on my top 10 for sure.
Okay.
I'm just trying to think of things like like Nirvana and stuff like that. I mean, that's definitely up there.
Okay.
I love punk music, absolutely. I don't know when I got into it though. I don't know if I like really listened to old punk. I think the oldest punk I listened to is like NoFX.
That's funny. I got
I love them.
My tattoo. My best friend died like 20 something years ago, and the bass player from NoFX tattooed his initials on me in his living room.
So Melvin?
Yes.
Nice. That's amazing.
I didn't know who he was till after it was done. People were like, "Hey, you know who that was tattooed?" I was like, "No," because I mean, this is 25. This is 96 too. So they had just. It was in Venice. There was some shitty apartment in Venice.
Right. Wow, that's insane. Yeah, I know. And now they're wrapping it up. They have their final 3 days is next week.
30 years they've been playing almost.
I think 40.
They had livers.
Yeah, I think 40 years.
Wow.
Which is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy to see the punk bands that you grew up on, and I mean, even I just have a brain fart. A lead singer of Black Flag, the actor one now, huh?
Henry Rollins.
Yeah, Henry Rollins. Even Henry looks like a skinny old man now. Like he used to be just this beast.
Right.
It's so true. Weird to see on stage doing the songs, and they're like geriatric. You're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And I catch a glimpse in the mirror.
Well, the first minute you feel old is when like the classic rock station is the rock you listen to growing up. Pearl Jam and shit like that's what I had going on in my background.
What a voice, Eddie Vedder, boy.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, he just. I don't know. Yeah. It's hard to pick. I think it's easier to pick the top 3 movies than it is top 3 music albums.
Oh, I think that's even harder. I think that's even harder.
You think so?
Yeah, because I'm so into movies that like, I mean, my favorite genre is horror.
Movies? Huh?
My favorite genre is horror for sure.
Oh yeah, me too.
But as far as like favorite movies, like stuff that, when I think of favorite and with music and movies, I think of things that changed my path artistically or creatively, right?
Your path. It doesn't have to be anybody else's path.
Right. So definitely Clockwork Orange is up there.
Oh, that's my number 1.
Yeah, no, it's your number 1. Nice.
Number 1.
Yeah, it could be my gun to my head
now.
Gun to my head. Yeah, that's another great one. Gun to my head, I would say Clockwork Orange is my favorite.
Yeah, that's my.
It was just so. Movie. It's still ahead of its time if you watch it now. It's wild. It's wild.
And when you start to learn about Stanley Kubrick, he was a deep motherfucker. Like he was way into all of the stuff that we're learning about now. He knew about 45 years ago.
Yeah,
that's why they did. That's why they killed him.
Right. Absolutely. I definitely believe in all that shit, man.
There was a crazy article Nicole Kidman did this year on Vanity Fair, and she actually talked about it and talked about their relationship on Eyes Wide Shut and how he took her aside and was telling her about there's this whole other side you don't know. And she got into it a little bit he was trying to blow the doors off of it. You know, what was that? 30 years? He's been gone, something like that.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is look who's in it though too. Peter Bogdanovich, who was the star 80. Like there's all of these. When you start to put the dots together, man, it's you know, it's fucking it's scary. It is.
Yeah,
it's a
no,
trip.
it really is. It absolutely is.
I've spent too much time thinking about that stuff recently. You know,
no, I get it, man. I think about that stuff all the time. Like certain celebrities who are, you know, who are gone or committed suicide, quote unquote. I don't know, man. I feel like they knew. I feel like they knew shit. You know what I mean?
Oh, they did. I guarantee you, Chris Cornell didn't off himself like that.
Exactly.
Guarantee it. Exactly. Neither did Anthony Bourdain, because I know Anthony Bourdain was his wife.
I say that all the time.
His wife, huh?
I say that one all the time.
Well, his wife was involved. They were involved in a blackmail thing because she had an indiscretion with the fucking 15-year-old boy that she did a movie with, and he tried to pay some people off, and he was doing something with, you know, the pedophile. He was trying to there, and then he was snuffed out, and he did not kill himself.
Yeah,
there's just certain ones that but if you know some of the stuff behind what was going on, there's no way. There's no way.
Absolutely. Chester too. I feel that way.
No way. I don't think. I think if people let it lie like that, that's because they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to look at what's really going on, which is holy crap.
Right.
I mean, I had dealings with it when I was growing up in the film business, and I think it goes back to who I was when I did the NeverEnding Story. Is before life fucks you up and your parents and people, and you just innately know right from wrong, good or bad. Like at least I did.
Yeah.
You know,
no, it's instilled in you.
I mean, when I was on Battlestar, the joke was they would call me the 40-year-old midget because I was this big, had no front teeth, and I was like a little man.
And that was your first role, right?
Yeah, I did a bunch of commercials. That was before, but that was like my first, that was my first TV show. I was 6.
Right.
Like I screen tested for the Champ, and that would have been my first big thing. But I never seen Ricky dude. So I go to screen test, and we go. We're at Raleigh Studios, and there's John Voight, and we're doing like I knew who he was back then.
Right.
Kid. I let Ricky Schroeder go. Nice. I'm nice kid. Go first. Whatever. This kid had squirting out of his eyeballs. I'd never seen anything like it in my life. And I was just like, I'm so fucked. I had that like one Anthony Hopkins role, and he was like, shh, shh. I was like, yeah, I guess so. It's just not going to happen. There's just like I think I've always had a pretty realistic ego, and how are you going to be mad at that?
Right.
It was the same thing with What's Eating Gilbert Grape. I went in and read for directors a couple of times, and I was like maybe 16, 17, and I was kind of like the back was hurting, and I'd already been through a shit ton of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I saw what Leo did, and I was like, oh yeah. It was laughable, the difference in, and that's your moment and that's your thing, not somebody else's, you could see it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It was worlds apart from where I was. It was funny. But I can, I've always been able to kind of go, what are you going to do? So
that's it.
Yeah, I was the 40-year-old midget, but it got me out just being that little man that I was, like super professional and smart, and it got me out of a lot of shit that could have gone really, really bad just because of the people that were around. I mean, there was a freelance photographer who did all the teen magazines. Dude, he was a convicted pedophile a couple of times, and he was this guy's manager and that guy's man. And I'm not going to drop names because I'm not a fucking dick. I mean, I would. I don't care. Fuck them. But I don't want to make it about them. But like he's still up until like, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, if not sooner, still managing people, still in the business. You know,
it's horrendous.
you know, and we started noticing the pictures looked weird. Like the focal point on pictures were not this smile, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so we had a friend who was a sheriff in West Hollywood and showed him the pictures, and he went and investigated, and yeah, they pulled his jacket, and yeah, it was like a 2-time convicted predator. So
Wow.
that was a wrap on that, and I mean, look, now we're seeing it with all the Nickelodeon, and I
Yeah.
know I've met those fuckers, you know,
Wow.
like I've worked with them and auditioned, and I back then I knew they were not nice people.
Right.
But to see the magnitude of where we're at now, especially now with the Puff Daddy shit, holy crap!
God, it's insane.
I mean, have you heard like the roster of dirt they have now? Oh my god, it's so cringy and so.
I've heard. I heard the last thing I heard was like a week ago. So is there more?
LeBron James more. And I mean,
oh yeah, all the people at the parties and stuff. Yeah.
But you're not even. But the videos they have and all the dirt and
shit, man. Yeah, that's you know what. You abuse your power, and then that's what happens. You're gonna get caught eventually, or a disgrace.
Maybe it's the best thing for it. Maybe I this is kind of my belief is there's not going to be anybody left in Hollywood.
You're right.
Like Robert De Niro, gone.
Yeah.
All these fuckers gone. They're going to get either 86th. They arrested Oprah, or they're coming for her. They just raided her house. I mean, Africa is trying to extradite her for human trafficking.
Right.
So I mean, this is, you know, she was America's give you a car. Like, of course, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all what do magicians do to like get you from misdirection?
Right.
That's what they've been doing the whole time. Is that all this grandiose shit is to keep you from, you know, seeing what's really going on.
There are some people that I'm genuinely surprised when I hear something.
Oh, of course.
But most of them, I never liked them to begin with, and I didn't like them for a reason. You know, I think I'm a pretty good judge of character as far as like, you know, that person's full of shit. You know,
how are you going to have a Hollywood when 98% of all of your talent is jail, or they got, you know, nobody's going to work. So I think what's going to happen is there'll be like maybe a research, like Roger Corman type directors and producers, like Easy Rider movies, where you have some young badass ballsy kids in their 20s going to start making movies the right ways and not touch kids and do all that bullshit. I think that's the only way we're ever going to have new movies after this.
Look at the studios now that are blowing up. A24, Neon, you know, those studios are putting out interesting things, you know, like not the mainstream, not the blockbusters.
No,
and
who gives a fuck about that stuff?
And the movies, I mean, the movies I've seen lately have been mind-blowing, man. I saw this movie called The Substance.
Really?
With Demi Moore. I don't know if you heard about this one.
Ooh.
It was about Hollywood, actually, about how it treats people, treats women in particular. And it was probably one of the best movies I've ever seen, honestly. Like, I'd put it on my top 10 list. The Substance.
The Substance. Okay.
Yeah. Dennis Quaid is in it.
I like movies like that. That's what
phenomenal. I don't think the mainstream audience would dig it. It's like a heavy body horror movie.
Yeah.
But the message about it is amazing, and it's a lot to watch. It's a lot. But it was done so well.
I haven't been to a movie in six years.
Oh man, that's all I do is go to the fucking movies.
I used to be like that. I used to. Yeah. I'd go to 2-3 movies a week.
Yeah.
For years and years. I don't go to them anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my oldest, closest friends, he Transformers and the X-Men, those are his movies.
Right.
I haven't seen. I think I've seen the first 1 or 2 X-Men. I was supposed to be in the first one, and I was in the hospital having back surgery.
Oh shit.
So that's funny. Every time he wants to put me in a movie, I'm having back surgery or a surgery. I'm fucked up somehow from this back. I think it's like we're on like 3 or 4 now.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah.
That's insane. And like, do you have anything coming up? Any roles that you're excited about?
So acting wise, I haven't like retired or anything. I just don't look at the fucking movie business. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not pursuing a vocation in this fucking buffoonery, but somebody talked me into writing, which was that's a whole weird story in itself.
Right.
I don't know how much time we have, but if you believe in
go
mediums and psychics and shit, it's a fucking trippy story.
I do.
So my best friend that passed away, the No FX bass player tattooed his name. So he was a psychic, and like he was no shit, like he was no fucking joke. And one day, like he would call me in the middle of the night or like 5 in the morning, get up, I'm coming to get you. We got to do something. And I just would be like, cool, whatever, because there are just certain things I wouldn't argue with him about. He knew stuff. He's like, I got to go to San Luis Obispo up there or some shit. He goes, get in the car. And it was I was like, okay, I fall asleep in the car. We get up to this eerie, crazy crib. And like, it was a money. I mean, it was not cheap. And there's dark and there's candles. And I'm like, oh, what kind of crap is he bringing me to? So there's evidently this woman's very powerful psychic medium. There was a couple, like another 2 or 3 people in the room. It was like almost like a holding room. Like like in the haunted mansion when you have that big room where you all kind of hang and then you go through the go into the That's what I felt like I was doing. And then so I never met her. We've never talked. My best friend never talked to her. He just had a thing that he was supposed to go talk to this lady. So we drove 5-6 hours to go talk to somebody he's never met, never spoke to, none of that. She walks out the room and goes, "You, Noah, this is what you have to do, is you have to write." And I just had to shit myself, and pointed right at me, knew my name, knew whoever her guide was talking to her. You could see it. And my buddy was pissed. He was like, "Oh, typical, it's for you. This wasn't about me." I go, "Well, it's normally not about you, dude." So, and I kind of left it alone at that. I mean, I get weird stuff that, people tell me shit all the time. But then years later, I moved to Vegas, and there's just nothing to do really. I mean, little to do, but get in trouble stuff is big, try to stay out of it. So I just started writing. And I don't know, in a year.
Are we talking screenplays or?
Yeah. Screenplays.
Nice.
I have 15 titles that are copywritten. They're all in different stages. Some are just a synopsis. Some are, I have a pilot and a movie that are completely done. It just kind of, it was like diarrhea of the brain. They all just kind of spew it out. So
yeah,
I need help is what I need. I need a couple help. I need a couple of writers to kind of like help me churn some of these out, because I can only write so much at a time.
Right.
And then my brain, the way it works, I'd be working on 5 different scripts at the same time in my head. Excuse me?
You're forgetting something.
What am I forgetting?
Back to like the psychic thing. Fast forward, we were sitting at Galster Park, supposedly haunted park in West Covina, and that person was writing on the bench, and they walked up to you and handed you that note.
Yeah, I have some weird shit happen with spirits, like to push people toward, like, we were at the park out by us.
Galster's haunted.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be a haunted park, which I'd have told my wife not to fucking take me there, because this is and some guy just arbitrarily came up to me and wrote this whole long note.
We saw them writing on the bench.
Yeah, we were like, "What's he doing?" And he gave it to me, and it was this
about writing.
Yeah, it was about writing again, and he was like, wow. "This is what you like. Your path is to write, and is to make people dream." And it was just shit like that happened. So I've just been writing, I did a pilot. We were going to try to do a TV show, but getting a TV show is like, that's such a uphill battle. I didn't even want to undertake. So we're going to we're going to turn it into a movie, and then maybe spin it into a series afterwards if it's well received. But that's like a special. I mean, it's exactly what's fucking going on in the country right now. I mean, exactly. Right. It's about a disillusioned a special forces operator whose whole platoon is blown up by friendly fire that the government fucking covers. And so he goes and buys a plot of land and in a home and starts a homestead in Wyoming that right next to a Indian res. And going into town, he he gets involved in an active shooter situation. There's these 2 kids start shooting up a farmer's market. So he does what he does and goes to work and neutralizes everybody. But in the interim, he becomes a fucking celebrity because he just saved all these people's lives. He becomes really famous. Cool. So all the anonymity that's all he wanted was to deal with his demons and be anonymous is gone. And like I have the trailer and he's rigging, like a couple weeks later, he's on top of the double wide rigging some cable and shit. And he looks and he sees something in the distance and he gets his glass out and there's like 100 caravans coming up to his house. And there's all these people that he had done this like Braveheart speech about freedom on the news, and people were like, "Fuck this! We hate. We're not free." So they all come up to his place to go find some freedom.
Right.
And it goes from there.
That's awesome.
So that's, and they're all people that I
can picture that in my head. I can picture all that in my head. That's awesome.
And I got music. See, I always pick music, and I do it like.
Oh, hell yeah, yeah.
I pick music first.
Yeah.
My music comes.
Oh,
first.
I do everything backwards. So I totally get it. Yeah.
Music comes first, and then I go. I got a scene for this. I got a scene for this. And everybody that's in it is somebody that I know, that I've had experience with. I just can't understand creating something out of nothing. Like, the bad guys in something. I know those motherfuckers. Like, I've met these people. So I think it has this. It has a sense of reality more so than a lot of shit.
That's very cool, man. I think that. Yeah, go ahead.
So no, so I did another one. I ate 1,000 milligram THC cookie.
Nice. Yeah.
And when I came out of my trip the next day, I had 2 synopses, and I'm supposed to direct the first one. I was supposed to direct it this year, but it's called Parting Seas, and it's a coming of age movie about a 12-year-old boy who finds out he's gonna die of inoperable cancer, and he's got a couple months, and he's never been out of Cincinnati. He doesn't know how to swim. He's never kissed a girl. He's never even stuck his feet in the ocean. He's got this disgustingly angry mother and a beta dad. And so he crawls out the window in the middle of the night with his dog and goes looking for a life and goes looking for some of these things. And on the way, he meets all these people that facilitate all these wonderful things. Like they teach him how to drive. He meets a girl who goes on this adventure with him. And it's like a wonderful love story, but it's got like the punk edge to it kind of. And it's just, he meets this girl and they fall in love, and she's kind of a little bit older. Like, he's 12, she might be 15, 16 at the most, but she's kind of tough. He finds out why she was on the road, and it kind of sets him on a path, on his path, that he finds out what he has who he has to be. And it gets really dark at the end. And so I had the idea of, at the beginning, every so often you just turn the color skew up a little bit on the film, so everything brightens up and it gives you this elevated kind of smile and makes you feel good, because then when he goes and handles his business and does what he has to do, you're like, holy fuck, it gets really dark. The kid finds out that her dad's been pimping her out, her and her little brother, and so she ran away. And it kind of gets you hear about it for 1 second, and then you don't hear about it ever again until they get down to this defunct theme park down by the ocean, which I didn't know existed. My wife goes, "Oh, there was one right there," and she drew a path, and it was the exact path that we had in the script. It was just really weird.
Wow. Yeah.
And then I have, I love Tom Waits.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the only person I can think of that he's like a groundskeeper, but he's not seeing. He doesn't see. And when the kid comes up, he can feel that he knows he can feel that his death is creeping.
I can totally picture this. Yeah.
And he doses them. He gives them a peyote thing. And there's this whole natural born killer type of, they're tripping, and then he ties in the morning, it's pouring rain. He ties the dog to the girl's foot. She's sleeping, and he writes a note, and he goes off into the storm, and then he shows up at the dad's place. But the way I have it written is very Alfred Hitchcock, and it's very Stanley Kubrick. like with the lightning flashes, and you could see the kid outside the window, and he's all sallow and he's dying and he looks like death. And the dad is standing in front of the little boy's room, and he opens the door, and that shot from between underneath the legs that you could see the little boy in his underoos sitting on the bed, like petrified. And then the lightning goes again, and then you see the kids in the room behind him, and then the lightning flashes again, and the kid starts stabbing the fuck out of this guy in the back with the knife that the first guy he met was like, they need some circus freaks, carny freaks. And he gives him a knife. You never see it again until he goes to work on this guy. And he's a big, he's a good sized guy. This guy's a little tiny 12-year-old, and he picks him up and he goes through the wall with him. And there's a fight, like an ugly fight there. And the kid's fighting for his life. The guy's losing blood everywhere. He scrambles for the sink. There's a gauge underneath the sink, and it goes off, and they tussle, and the kid somehow manages, he's already bitten the guy's nose off, the tip of the nose, and he gets behind him, and we got a throat slice that nobody's ever done. It's going to look like it really happened. But the shotgun went off, so cops are on their way, and he goes into the garage to escape, and there's a bandit Trans Am in the garage, and he takes it, and they're off, and there's the 70s Smokey and the Bandit car chase, or like Cannonball Run car chase.
Hell yeah.
Helicopters. And then, but all the people of the story that we've had, all the people that we meet, they see it on the news. And so you can tie all the stories together that way. And they're all seeing him on this chase. And you have the guy who taught him how to drive. And you have, and then, he jumps his car up onto the beach, and the sun's just starting to crack through the rain and the clouds. And he gets all his clothes off naked, and he walks into the ocean and disappears into the surf.
Wow. That's amazing.
And the credits start to roll, and there's a song
I love how you have the whole thing shot in your head. I love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to do my storyboard artist. I want, on day one of the shoot, everybody gets a story, like a script storyboard, and it's exactly how it's going to look. Yeah. So there's no guessing. There's nothing is when you look at that storyboard, exactly. That's how the movie's going to look when it's done.
Right. That's amazing.
So that was, I don't think I've ever seen that done. And I'd had that idea. I just was like, okay, I'm not a director. I know a lot of people that are much more seasoned and so what I'm going to do is surround myself with great people that I know are going to take care of me. Sure. And let's do this. So it's foolproof. So there's no guessing. Nobody's fucking anything up. We're not, we didn't pay this. It's going to be exactly the way it comes out.
Sure.
And I figured that might lend to streamlining it. And so that I agreed to direct it. But yeah, if and when we do, it won't be till this next summer or before summer. But
sure.
Who knows now, I'm not motivated to kind of kick it into high gear until at least after the elections and see, where the country is or where we're at. Cause
sure. Yeah. No. So, and I think that's a good idea to hold off, but I think that this is a good time to do stuff like that. I think you're seeing more and more independent things coming to the surface. Just like
shoot it for $1.5 million.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, there's so many routes to go to now. It's not just back in the day. It was like you get your movie in the movie theater and that's it. Now you got streaming services
and they have such a great tax rebate program. I mean, I think Louisiana's like something like 40% or 42%. You to go shoot in their town and use their union people.
Yeah.
They'll give you a 42% tax rebate. So when you finish principal photography, you're already in a surplus. You're already, you get 42% back.
Right.
So that's my, yeah. So I would have loved for it to be in the 80s or the 70s and it been Hollywood and do it because now it's kind of like, it almost feels anticlimactic, with the temperature of where Hollywood's at. But
but you know what? Everything has to come back around again too. You know what I mean? Like I'm a true believer in that. I think that, the pendulum swings both ways, everything seems to be like like, what the fuck did they do to Star Wars? They kind of ruined it,
They didn't kind of ruin it.
Yeah, they ruined it. But listen, the original are always there, and maybe one day it'll go the other direction,
Yeah.
Well, maybe not Star Wars, but my point is that everything comes back around,
It's true. It's true.
So, and this is such a great time.
But really I got a raunchy sitcom too,
Nice.
It's called it's about 30 somethings, a bunch of, what would they be, Gen Zers now or millennials? That work in a sex shop. It's called Nothing But Plugs.
That's phenomenal.
Wife came up with the title.
Yeah, so I'm 43, so I just made millennial. So unfortunately I am one, but
gotcha.
Yeah.
So we got a bunch of shit. I just don't, you always got to get a support team, I think, for anybody to look. The two knuckleheads, Ben Affleck and what's his name, if they didn't have whoever wrote that fucking script, they would not have Good Will Hunting.
Right.
They had a ghostwriter that wrote the shit out of that. Right. So I don't need that because I already have all of my story stuff. I just need some help to get them out. I'm not Stephen King.
Absolutely.
Like, that dude's a machine.
Well, I do I do graphics and things like that. So if you never need anything like that,
that's rad. Thank you.
Hit me up.
Yeah. I appreciate it. I need all the fucking help I can get.
Man. Absolutely.
That's rad.
All right. So is there anything we haven't covered that you want to cover?
Oh man. I'm getting my chopper in 2 weeks. My back has been fucked up.
Right.
And all I wanted my whole life was my own custom chopper.
We're talking
not like Orange County chopper. Yeah, like this proper 70s. I mean, it's kind of like a mix between Dennis Hopper's bike, his Wishbone, his Panhead, and the Captain America, because it's got a long front end, but it's a bad motherfucker.
Right.
So, man, it was supposed to be delivered 8 months ago, and he's still fucking working on it. But I finally went, you know what? If I could ride 1 day a week, that would be worth it. So I ponied up the money, and it was not cheap. And I found this guy. I don't know how I found him. I saw his bike and I went, I go, just build me one of yours. Like, it's almost perfect. And that's pretty much what we did. And it's been interesting. And I got to go down to Florida in a couple of weeks and grab it and haul it home. So that to me trumps all the other shit. Because I just want to put some gear on the back of the bike and my lady and get the fuck out and go find some hot springs to go skinny dip in and go ride. And that for me is that's all I wanted to do forever. And I'll go as long as the back can go, like if
Absolutely,
it's only 1 day a week, I'll be happy with that.
Absolutely. Live it up, man. That's I've been doing that a lot with my wife lately. We've been just taking like weekend trips and just doing shit and having a good time, because it's
good.
The world's all fucked up, and like
it is.
I'm not going to sit around and stewing it, like I just want to live my life and do what I want to do. That's it.
Well, you gotta all these little moments add up to a lot of moments, and
absolutely.
And if you don't do it now and you keep thinking about, okay, well, we'll wait for this and we'll wait for the elections and we'll see, you're not going to have anything.
Yep, right.
Because who knows, life could, I mean, we're in DEFCON 1, which is the closest it gets to before war, like before rockets start coming. So that's not good. We got Putin who's going to fucking nuke us any second. And then we got 20 million illegals that they're going to activate a percentage of those. And it's going to be bedlam. I mean, we all know it's design. And anybody who doesn't know that is in for one really horrifying rude awakening, because we're armed up as fuck here. I have no pretense about anything not happening. Right. So we got 60, 70 gallons of water stored and food and several thousand rounds. Like, you're going to have to work to get me. I'm not going to a concentration camp, and you ain't going to take my fucking freedom from me.
That's right.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So, no, I had my wife go to BJ's tonight. Actually, it's a club, like a food club here. While I was doing this, so hopefully we're all stocked up.
Well, say hello for her. To me, from her.
Will do.
To me, sorry. It's been a long. I was up all night prepping and shit because you know, I have some deep military friends, and they have a convoy that's getting ready to roll out. They're with a bunch of operators. They're getting the fuck
shit.
out.
Yeah.
So I got a text saying, I hope you're prepared, because when I call, you got 30 minutes. So we're trying to just button everything up, and we might, you know, I think it's probably safer with them. They've got some armored cars with some hardware, and you know, everybody's armed to the teeth. So
wow, yeah.
Hey, I'd rather be that way than not, than dick in the wind, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So yeah, I think that'll do it, man. This was great.
Appreciate you having me on, dude.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for this.
My pleasure.
And it was a pleasure, man. Noah, it's nice meeting you, man.
You. Me too. Watch your six. Take care of yours and your own. Stay healthy,
man.
You know,
I'll be calling you if I need you. Don't worry.
Hey, if I could get there, trust me, I'd be getting there.
I know you would. I
know some people back east, though, if you need them.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah. All right, brother. It was a pleasure.
I know. Have a great night, man. You
Thanks
too.
a lot, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you. Peace.
And then so you have fences, and he does your dirty work for you. He's like the hitman. He brings the bodies in.
He does. He does. He brings all the bodies, man. And it's crazy what this.
I like fences.
He's the best. He really is.